So if we are overloaded with electrical charges, we will not be able to control the pathways in which this information is flowing, and we become crazy. So these families have very slowly had their DNA, new strands of DNA, to help facilitate greater understanding, greater knowledge, greater respect for ourselves and the earth. And that's what's happened with these families that are being monitored. So that is also why sometimes people have had these things running in their families, because they're one of these families that have been monitored. And that's why the path leading back to where we all came from would be very interesting, to be able to look at the family tree of some of these families through time. So
isn't this the, this is actually, the Greys are in a sense working for, at least one faction, are working for the tall blondes, or however you want to call them. Because you're talking about also in your 88 experience, you have the 4-foot tall beings. Those were, I assume, the Greys, showing you onto the ship, and at which time you were, you know, meeting with the tall blondes. So what happens is the Greys are actually handling the genetic sort of manipulation under the direction of perhaps these higher beings.
Only to a certain degree, and there needs to be some clarification there. And this is one of the things that I've myself have been very frustrated with in regard to the whole phenomenon, is the terms that we use in order to describe what it is that we're talking about. When, for example, when I myself say the word gray, the first thing that pops into my mind is a being that has wrinkled skin, has just the whole energy of fear for me personally. They have their heads are larger, but they're not huge. Their eyes are slightly slanted, that sort of thing. When I'm talking about the Greys that I'm talking about, if you wanted to call them that, these are 4 feet high with round black eyes and almost look like robots. There's no features to them whatsoever. They're very androgynous. These other Greys with the wrinkled skin, and they kind of, you know, their little tiny noses, those are a completely different breed. So there needs to be clarification in that. Here's what I tell people also. There is something that needs to be said about the understanding of people out there when someone such as myself comes forward. When we talk to you about our experiences, we talk to you about them not only from what it is that we've experienced, but also from our perceptions, understanding, and how much we were taught by them. So this is very important, because if 5 people witness a car accident, all 5 people are going to tell a slightly different story. So the question is the person telling the story a story maker? Are they somebody that, you know, embellishes? You have to take that into account. Is the person a very fastidious storyteller where they're telling every detail? You know, you have to take a look at the individual also to be able to know how to take that story. So when it comes to these beings, I've also been told by certain individuals that these, quote, Greys have been seen with the tall blondes and that their agenda is very dark. But here's what I say. And again, this really needs to be having some clarification out there regarding this phenomenon. I pray that if there are these beings, I would ask these people watching to ask themselves this. I pray that if there are caretakers that are looking over us and watching over us, and if they are somehow related to God in any way, shape, or form, that they not judge me on the evil people of this earth, because we all look the same. our general descriptions are the same. So because I am white, I pray that I am not judged by the evil of other white people. So when you come across one of these beings, whether it is in your dreams, which they can come to you in, or whether it is in the astral, which means your light body is leaving you, or whether it is physical, ask yourself this, right from here. Do I have fear, or am I simply just afraid? Do I have fear or terror? Because if you have terror, you need to understand that, and you need to say, no, I am not going to do this. I am not going to participate. I do not and will not be a part of this.
Right. They need to protect themselves, and they have this power.
Yes.
And they need to know they have this power.
Yes.
And that's a very important message.
Yes, it is very important. Yeah. People forget that. They say, oh, I don't have any control. I don't have any power. You do have a certain amount of power regarding this phenomenon when you're having contact. And so it is really important to protect yourself in that way, mentally. And that's why, again, these tall blondes make it very clear that we need to educate ourselves not only in what's happening around us in the world, but also on a more spiritual level. Because the more spiritually aware you become, the stronger you become, the more informed as to how it is that you can move forward spiritually and in the astral and in the dreams to be able to protect yourself from some of these other beings. All of them, all of the beings that are out there, whether it be grays or tall blondes, each one that I meet individually, I make them look at me in my eyes. I make them look so that if they're looking at me and they're looking all over the place like this, I say, no, no, no. I remember one dream in particular. The two blondes came to me and they were trying to give me this very, very strong message. And I said to them, you need to look at me. And they said, there's no time, there's no time. And I said, no, you either stop and look at me so that I can look in your eyes, or I'm not speaking to you. So I looked in their eyes and I recognized them as being peaceful and from the right heart. Because you can't look at someone at their, the rest of their body. When we want to know who someone is, even in this world, we stop and we look at their eyes. Can I look at their eyes and be comfortable? We have instant recognition as to whether or not we care for someone or not. So use that in this phenomenon as well. And if you do not want this happening, tell them and just keep telling them that you do not and are not a willing participant, and you demand that they stop. And you need to verbalize that. Will it stop? I don't know. It depends on your spirit. It depends on how strong you are.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That's very important, and I'm glad we can put that out there.
What I would like to share with everyone is that people like myself all over the earth are being stirred to movement. And that stirring and that movement, I believe, is very relevant for every single human being on the earth. I believe that because we are being awakened to begin sharing this information with people, that there are great changes that are coming, and that we need to all understand that. What is this great knowledge? The knowledge is that we're not alone, that we're being watched, that what we're doing is being looked upon by other beings that do have a certain amount of knowledge that we ourselves do not have, and that we need to take responsibility for ourselves. Only as the individual. You're not responsible for the earth. You're responsible for yourself. Accept that. Because we are all being awakened, we are all making the connections with one another. Where this will all lead, I believe that all of us are waiting to see. Because nothing is for sure. We're writing this plan as we're going through it.